Dave, there'll be a lot of people listening to this, and I was shocked when you said 29. I was thinking, actually, it's quite late to get into IT. If someone wants to emulate your career, now you've got to the top of a multi-billion-pound distributor in the UK running a fantastic company, and to get into the top job, how could they emulate your career? Because there's going to be a lot of people that have maybe trying to get into IT and see it as maybe a lucrative industry. But you mentioned a couple of fundamentals there earlier about coming in, working hard, getting recognised. Do you still see that as potentially, if you come into IT, if you haven't got GCSEs or you've come into it late, do you still see that you could get to the very, very top if you just work hard and make yourself known in the market?
Yeah, 100%.
You really do.
I don't see that's any different now. I met on induction some of our older apprentices who have come from hospitality a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months ago. And we had the same conversation, and one of them was my age. I see that opportunity exactly being there. And I think actually anyone coming with mature skills who are organised, great attitudes towards service, either internally or externally with a customer, who have got something a bit about them and want to get on, I think that opportunity is there in exactly the same way, 100%. Yeah. I said to you before, and I think it's been your experience too, IT is all about that. It isn't about have you been to the right school? Have you got the right secondary education, tertiary education, and built some experience in blue collar places? It is all about, can you make an impact? And if you want to make an impact, then we'll have you and you'll do well.
Where do you see the future of distribution now, David? Because where do you see the sort of biggest opportunity is for the sort of maybe the big broadliners like yourself? Who, I didn't even know when you said 40% cloud and service. I'm thinking, wow, actually, I'm surprised at that. Where's the big opportunity for you now?
I mean, the strategy has been for a very long time that, we are there to support our customers in aggregating solutions. It's been a long time since you could just shop through a basket of vendors and put them together and send it out. The chance of a customer always having even all the expertise to do that is quite low. A lot of them are partnering with each other.
Yeah.
So the role of us as a distributor is that we supply the tools in which that can happen, like a solution aggregation billing platform, like our cloud platform is, and then we can support the customers in a couple of ways. And again, this is the strategy. It's not a tactic. We'll take them on a journey to adjacent areas of business that they want to get into through education, training, support. Through customer success, we'll even support them on their first sales, for example. And also where where customers just have a gap in their knowledge, we can accredit and train them. I think behind that, though, sits something that is as old as I have, or has been around for as long as I've been in distribution, which is just really great business development people who are looking to support partners in growing their business. And at the end of the day, if you flip to the other side of the coin, that's what we're doing for our vendors. We aren't necessarily looking after their top accounts, though we can make a great impact in their top accounts. But in terms of engaging and enabling those big SMB channels, thousands of customers for our vendors, that's what our business development teams and our sales teams spend all day doing. And it's more relevant now as technology has become more complicated. So the argument was always, would distribution or even the reseller become disaggregated? That was the big word that I learned back then, because I hadn't heard of it before, which was that they would just bypass. But actually, the reality is customers aren't looking at vendors or products; they're looking at solutions, and someone has to pull all that together. And distribution has a core part to play in that.
If you had a magic wand, what would be the one thing you'd change about distribution? Do you think you get the respect from the channel that you deserve?
I make sure my email is visible enough that I get quite a lot of customer complaints, and I want them, and I speak to all of them. And so, no, we don't always get the respect I think they deserve. Although I would say every time a customer has contacted me, they've got a genuine axe to grind. So, I'm not complaining about getting the complaints I want them. So sometimes not. I think sometimes we're a squeezed middle.
Yeah.
But, I would hazard a guess, if you put your finger in the map and went to the local reseller, you would find out that after their salespeople booted up Outlook in the morning, they would then be booting up InTouch. If they're a software and cloud business, they're probably using our Stream One tool and our software store to look after their renewals. And they've probably got 3 or 4 people in their company they lean on very hard from a technology point of view.
Yeah.
And that just goes on daily. That's our bread and butter. of what we're doing. And put aside credit and logistics, they're completely core, but they're kind of that we're a utility like the gas and the electric in that sense. That's where the value add is. So do we get the respect for that? Maybe yes, maybe no. I've got no complaints about it. I think the customers I deal with are always very respectful.
Last year, the recent acquisition was announced that Synex and Tech Data were merging. Now, I don't really want to talk specifically about that. I'd like to sort of talk a bit more broader around the mergers and acquisitions and the mergers in general, in distribution in general. There's a lot of consolidation happening. Do you think that will continue, and do you think that's a good thing?
I think it will continue. It's been a feature of the landscape for a decade.
Yeah.
Now, and particularly in Europe, it has. So yeah, I don't see any reason why it would stop. I think an interesting bit of data. We work with Context closely. I don't know whether we deal with Context at all, but they're measuring only channel data through distribution. So all the data they present is around what's going on. Number of resellers, what technologies they're trading on.
What's this Context?
Context, yeah. I would absolutely recommend anybody in the channel spending time understanding what Context do and looking at their data, because it really gives you a good insight of not what's happening in technology, because a lot of that business will also go direct. What is actually happening in the channels? What's up, what's down, and they work globally. So yeah. They presented some data last year, and what it showed was, despite the consolidation in the market, there were more distributors around now than there were, and I think it was 10 years ago.
Right.
Might have been even a longer time arc than that. And the reason why is because the big have kind of got bigger, but there's been a lot of starting up of distributors who are more focused on particular solutions or services.
Yeah.
So yes, there's a consolidation, but I think it is about those kind of international players consolidating, and then sort of the bigger and more national players trying to get into other countries. But the number of distributors going up, not down.
You mentioned earlier, now I'm going to come back to you, like joining the IT industry at 29. Let's talk about diversity for a minute, because diversity isn't just gender. It's people from different backgrounds and people from other industries and different thought processes. What's your view on getting people from different industries into tech data? Is that something, you mentioned earlier about trying to get people from, because there's a massive skill shortage, as we know. There's not that many people coming into the channel. Is that something you're conscious about and you're trying to do at Tech Data, get people from different backgrounds?
That's a very interesting one. So you join us live as we kind of consider that ourselves, to be honest. So, we've always gone for the strategy in terms of the volume of people that we bring into Tech Data, is we will kind of be a nurturing ground and a training ground for young, talented people, first jobbers, second jobbers, third jobbers. And we induct them well, we train them up well, and that's always been our way. The challenge of doing that in the M3, M4 corridor, where two of our offices are and most of our people are, is it's a hugely competitive environment. So one of the things, you could argue, by the way, and we should look at our geography as well. The challenge is it's where a lot of the IT channel is based, and so that's good for us. But certainly in terms of demographics, age, and then various elements of diversity, which maybe we'll talk about a bit more in a second, and other industries, is we're actively reviewing that do we need to look at other channels, for want of a better phrase, of talent coming into the organisation. And my belief is, having not seen the conclusions of that, is that there is an older population that we should be looking at, and there are people from other industries who would be, as you and I were discussing at lunch, very surprised to see their earning potential. Absolutely. And the ability to develop a career, even if they're starting later on in life.
Yeah, because again, I'll touch on the subject around salary within the IT. There's a lot of people now that are coming into IT, or who are actually in the IT industry, expecting huge salaries. And if you've got someone who was maybe your age, they were, when you started, like late 20s, they've been selling financial services, or they've been selling insurance. If we talked about some of the numbers they could earn in IT, they'd be absolutely astounded and staggered. But those people aren't being tapped up. So, for instance, I'm looking at yourself, David, and I'm not knocking it, but if you come to me with your profile from public sector at 29, honestly, I wouldn't speak to you. I wouldn't be able to touch you. I wouldn't be able to get you a job because
Yeah.
one, they'd want to charge a fee from a recruitment company. But I'd actually say, look, I wouldn't even, it sounds horrible. I wouldn't even sort of speak to you to even get you a job. So how can people from different backgrounds, even if they've got sales experience or different ages, get a crack into the IT industry?
I would say that probably going the recruitment route isn't the right
Yeah.
way. Then I think what you'll find is a lot of companies like us now are becoming much more open-minded about, what careers fairs do we want to go to, where do we want our brand to be seen, particularly where our offices are located, and then making sure that the criteria that they are asking for aren't 3 years experience in IT and all the stuff that would immediately put those people off.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you're looking for the right energy, and people who can, in sales, for example, who can articulate themselves and bring the right. Did I just say energy? Was the energy the first one?
Yeah, energy.
Okay. Well, energy, articulate.
You got to bring the energy though.
And yeah, thank you. And the right attitude towards it. As long as you make it clear that that's what you're hiring for,
Yeah.
then you'll get those people in. But I think we're all learning, particularly there's attrition's a bit higher than it was, unemployment is low.
Yeah.
I think a lot of businesses like ours will be looking more open-mindedly at those talent pools and probably should have been already.